Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, the home of News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. This is BUCS Bonus on WFLA Now.
The cannons were firing at Raymond James Stadium as the Bucs take the home opener against the Commanders with some rookie contributions of note. And yes, Baker Mayfield leading the way. But with the mighty Detroit Lions on tap and questions in the Bucs secondary, what can we expect in week 2? This is week 2 of BUCS Bonus with the full squad here. Dan, Lucas, and can we hear it for Eileen Natchik?
I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, I thought you were going to press the one. Give me that one.
Oh, no, I got that one too. You ready? It's exciting. It is exciting.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Eileen is back. She has basically just been
abroad
backpacking through Europe. Every European village, Eileen Natchik has made a cameo appearance. Eileen, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be here. I'm full of. Oh my God, JB.
Did you go on any train rides in Europe? Did anybody? Was there any? Miscusi.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. I don't like the metro. I don't want to take the metro. I don't care if I sound like a diva or not. The metro is not for me. But croissants and baguettes are. I'm filled with those. Still trying to. Still trying to shed some lbs. Anyways,
you say Muscusi.
Good to be back.
I'm gonna make that the next sound effect on this board.
You should.
Miscusi.
Well, Miscusi to your Wednesday afternoon, folks. Here with Bucs Insiders Dan Lucas and, of course, Eileen Natchik. It's great to be here with you. And, yeah, we're in a great mood because the Buccaneers, despite some injuries that we will be getting into on the program, the Buccaneers with a resounding Week 1 win over the Washington Commanders. I'll tell you what, man, Jaden Daniels looks like a player in this league, but it was not enough as the Buccaneers win 37-20 at Raymond James Stadium. Yes, a solid rookie debut for Jaden Daniels, no doubt, but it was Baker Mayfield and the accuracy, 24 of 30 for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns passing. Mike Evans doing what Mike Evans does. Chris Godwin. We're going to get into some of the names here, guys. Biggest takeaways from week 1 as the Buccaneers look like they might be one of or maybe the team to beat in the NFC South.
Ooh, I like that. The fact that the mighty Atlanta Falcons lost to a team that kicked 6 field goals doesn't bode well for their often running NFC South hopes. But one game, so we'll see what happens. The hot team. Well, they were playing the Carolina Panthers, but the hot team was the New Orleans Saints, who just lit it up. And so people are thinking, wow, are the Saints for real? So then you say to yourself, it was only one game. So I think even
how about the NFC South
even
right
in
now?
the Bucs, even in the Bucs situation, you say it was one game. So let's move forward. And we all know what's coming. I mean, even just this week alone, but the schedule goes kind of up and down. Then you hit that massive challenge going into October, so that will take them right up to the bye week, and we're really going to see what they're made of,
right?
At that point there. And I know we talked schedule last week, but get into the bye week as best you can, best record possible, and then it becomes more manageable after that. I still think that kind of like last year, coming out of the bye week, the Bucs are going to have to get on a roll.
Yeah.
To whoever they're trying to put away in the NFC South, be it Atlanta, or if the Saints are for real, the Saints. And the last game of the season is against the Saints. That could be something if it's meaningful. But so that's how this shapes up. So this next game against the Lions is, in my opinion, an awesome gauge. And that's all it is a gauge of where they are right now, because this could very well be another matchup in the postseason if it shapes up that way.
Right. And I think, too, we're talking this entire season, but you talked this week and spoke with some of the guys in the locker room on Wednesday, and they were saying, listen, you talk about the last time we played this team, Dan, we were talking earlier how this is the third time in what, less than a year, about a year that they've played the Lions, and they're like, listen, some of them have said, last time we lost to the Lions in the divisional round in playoffs, that doesn't matter. We don't care. We're working on week 2, this game, this week. But at the same time, Baker was saying that they did take a lot of things from that game. So I think it just depends on the players, opinion, but they have a lot to build off of. Talk about that win against the Commanders. You got every single starting receiver scoring, including one of them being a rookie. drafted out of Washington. And for him to bounce back after that drop he had, that was huge. And
by the way, the drop, I put it on, do we say tweet anymore?
I'm saying Twitter.
I'm
not saying
Can
X.
we keep the tweet thing going? I like tweet.
I X'd about it after he dropped it.
Sounds weird.
That corner, when they play games at 4:25 p.m. and it's both teams.
Oh yeah, you did say this.
That corner of the end zone, the going towards the pirate ship. When you look back, you are looking dead into the sun.
Sunglasses.
I can't tell you how many guys I've seen drop passes. I remember Rob Gronkowski dropping a sure touchdown at that angle once. And so when the ball went to McMillan, when he dropped it, I wasn't shocked.
Right.
But you still have to make that catch, and that's a tough situation at that time of day. I can't say don't make play calls that direction.
Right.
But it was brutal because later he comes back and it's a beautifully called play and executed. He's wide open for a 32-yard touchdown, but his only catch of the game. He might have had 2 touchdowns that day because that first drop was a touchdown.
But what it says about him, right, to be a rookie, to have dropped the ball and then the next play or two you score a touchdown, that's big time. Because when you're a rookie and what do you call it, the freshman slump in college, your confidence goes down. So for him to bounce back, that was big. I think that showed a lot about his character. And then you talk about other rookies, Bucky Irving.
Yeah, Bucky came up big,
led the team in rushing yards.
Over 5 yards a carry. Of course, the 31-yarder was the helper there.
Right.
What I liked about the rookies was the stage wasn't too big. They all made their share of mistakes, and they just got got through their first game, and they all contributed to a win. Chris Braswell even had some plays where he was a factor as well on the defensive side, and I think carrying over into game 2. You're like, well, what factors could help the Bucs in this game? None of those guys remember the playoff game. Obviously, they don't remember losing in the orange last year at Ray J to this team. So this is the first time there. There's going to be there'll be initial noise issues for the rookies where the other guys know what's coming a little bit more. But I just think that I won't use the word naivete. There's just not knowing. That I think is a little helpful for rookies going into that environment.
Right. And the biggest question is, can these rookies repeat what they did in week 1? That's something we don't know if they're capable of that yet. And of course, as rookies, we'll see.
Part of that's the game plan on offense. Correct. Especially what do the Lions offer them?
Correct.
That's possible. I mean, this defense is just a beast.
I know.
The Lions'
Aiden
defense
is
yeah.
Yeah, did I say I feel like I added an extra syllable in Hutchinson, yeah.
Yeah.
Hutchinson. But you talk about the noise, Dan. The guys were saying in the locker room today too that they're preparing for those, play calls and signal calls when everything is too loud and they can't even hear the rest of that play call. They're immediately going to a specific one. So they're preparing for this.
Yeah, that's where playing there in the playoffs last year does matter because they handled it pretty well. I thought last year. And remember, the Lions were the story of the playoffs last year. They were the team everybody was in love with.
They were Cinderella.
Why does that make me salty? I just don't like hearing that.
They won their first playoff game in decades against the Rams, who they beat last week.
Great.
And then I remember just how loud that stadium was. The press box is open.
Yeah, you were there.
And it came as advertised. Because I've been in that stadium four times, and that was no offense, that was the first time I heard noise in that stadium. But
this man said no offense.
In the well, I mean, listen, man, everybody's on board when everybody's winning, so it was fun to see, and I think it's great the way they're supporting them because it is. You ask anybody from that area, it is Detroit Lions, and then whatever University of Michigan's doing.
True.
And then everybody else kind of falls in line after that. Red Wings, but no, it was deafening inside Ford Field, and it's going to be definitely loud again. They are pumped, the Lions, because now the Lions. JB, you said it. Were they Cinderella? You said last year.
Yeah,
not this year.
Certainly. Well, right.
Not
the expectations are high. We're going to talk more on the Lions here in just a second, just to kind of put a bow on Commanders Bucks for a second. One thing I want to know, as we're talking about rookies, you guys really went across the board. Shout out to Graham Barton too, first round pick. And,
big time.
I mean, the offensive line looked really
big time
solid. I was at Raymond James Stadium. Shout out to my mother-in-law, by the way, who surprised me with tickets.
Shout
I
out,
was
Mom-in-law.
not supposed to be going to the game.
Wow.
I went to the
How
game. It was great. And let me tell you, just an observation. I did not. I wasn't able to hear the broadcast. I was basically glued to my seat because I was just so lucky and fortunate to be there and watching the game with tens of thousands of other crazy Bucs fans screaming their heads off. But I will tell you this, and I don't know how much it was communicated on the broadcast. Baker looked comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, did not look like a game under a new offensive coordinator to me, just watching with my own 2 eyes. Looked like he was in lockstep with the offense. And yes, it's the Commanders, but Baker's getting glowing reviews, right? I mean, so
they punted
far,
one time, I think, right? Didn't they just punt once? And Liam Cohen's first game as offensive coordinator for the Bucs.
Four times in the first half, they got points all 4.
There you go.
And and there were field goals. The touchdown to Mike Evans to start, and then they got really crazy in the second half. But to your point, JB, this is what let's go back to Pro Bowl weekend when Liam Cohen was on the list and he was interviewed. Baker was high on him.
Yep.
In Orlando when it was not even a done deal yet. And then we started to say, wow, does Baker have a say in who's going to be the coordinator? Because Baker's getting ready for free agency here. And if he gets what he wants here, does that mean Baker's staying? Well, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. And I'll say this too real quick before we move on. I got a chance to talk with Liam Cohen kind of one-on-one after one of the days in training camp too. Just kind of, welcome, introduce myself, blah, blah, blah. And such a great guy, family guy, just totally has been embracing Tampa Bay and just really, really excited. Such a passionate guy, humble guy, driven, focused. So it's everything you want, I think, as a player. In terms of an offensive coordinator, as a person, right? So we've seen what he can do on the field too with the Commanders, but as a person too, really great guy. So
Baker and Liam became close immediately because when the two were introduced to one another, and Liam tells the story of the Rams season literally on the brink of collapsing, and here comes Baker on his first or second day at practice, basically running things, coming out and not trying to act like he's in charge, but got everybody pumped up. And you're talking about a football team that was almost lost. And Baker came out there. He said that the first practice session and the next day, everything was so energized that it changed everything.
Right.
And so, Baker's given a lot of credit for reviving the Rams season a couple of years ago. And Liam Cohen got to witness that. It also happened to be at a time when Sean McVay was recognizing that this team is in trouble and I could lose this room. So he was in damage control. He relinquished a lot of the responsibilities, including a little play calling, to Liam Cohen. So here's Baker. He's coming in humble pie. And Liam Cohen, I need a chance. I want a chance to do this. And these two just, They met and they meshed, and then Liam was gone. He went back to the college ranks. Baker came to Tampa Bay, and who knew they were going to cross paths again? This is the probably the big chance,
meant to be type thing.
Well, yeah, I mean maybe they had conversations back then. Wouldn't it be great if we could just work together?
And then they manifested. You guys make fun of me for all the stars.
Yeah, exactly.
All the stars and the astrology stuff. They make fun of me. This is a line in the stars, guys. Mercury's in retrograde. Or what is it? What do you guys make fun of me for? Mercury's in Gatorade.
Do we? Yeah. Do we?
If you're listening, listen. All right, I'm dating myself as a young head right now.
The partnership is clearly off to a great start between Baker and Liam Cohen. Now look, it is the Commanders. So obviously
they're a good team though. Commanders are a good team.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, they put up 20 points on us. They're a decent team. They're not awful team. Okay. Any teams, every single week, it's hard to beat. I'm just gonna say, you're in the NFL. Every single week is hard. At least, hey, this is what the guys told me. This is what the guys said in the locker room. I'm just saying what they said. All right.
as we put a bow on the home opener. Look,
back me up, Dan.
Come on, Dan. I'm like looking at myself. Dan, come on, come on. He's just like staring at me. JV's looking at me like a deer in headlights. He's looking at me too. I'm like, guys, hello.
We can't.
Where's Kenny Morales?
Yeah.
Is Kenny around? You can't put a bow on the Commanders' home opener victory without mentioning Mike Evans. And I love the social media post that the Bucs put out where Baker was mic'd up and said it's like a cheat code. I mean, I love that as being almost a nickname for him this season is Mike Cheat Code Evans, because just if he's in single coverage, he's as dangerous as any receiver in the league, if you ask anyone around the Buccaneers. If you ask Buckified Bert, he's pretty excited about the Week 1.
Hello, JB. This is Buckified Bert. So excited about the opportunity to talk about what happened last week. I told you guys last week we was going to beat them, but I didn't know it was going to be a slaughter. Now check this out. Washington had a lot of people come in town, so they didn't have no problem. Everybody saw that the Buccaneers got what it takes to take it all the way to the promised land. But now, just let's put that aside. We're going to this game next week against the Detroit Lions. We got a bone to pick with Detroit Lions. We lost to them twice last year in the playoff. It was a close game. But the difference this year is we got Liam Cohen. And Liam Cohen is a bad dude. I mean, he can play, he can coordinate this offense, and he's using all the weapons that we have the right way. So if we'd have had Liam Cohen last year, we would have beat Detroit last year. But now we got him, and Dave Canales just went somewhere else. So we're going to take it to the promised land. When we play against them this week, Sunday, it's going to be payback. It's going to be payback. And now I'm going to give it to Casey Sloan. She's going to tell you all about the player of the week. But just remember, Baker, the touchdown maker. All right? Buckified. I'm out.
Hey guys, it feels so good to be back and talking about Bucs football finally. The team was baking against the Washington Commanders during their season opener Sunday, which makes it easy to choose this week's KC StatChat Player of the Week, Baker Mayfield. The quarterback excelled in the Bucs opener, completing 24 of 30 passes for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns for a passer rating of 146.4, which is his 4th highest passer rating in a game in his career. He also has 4 career games with at least 4 touchdown passes and a passer rating of 140 or higher, tying him with Aaron Rodgers for the 3rd most such games by a player in his first 7 seasons in NFL history. Only Peyton Manning and Kurt Warner have more. Now, after their 37-20 win, the Bucs believe they have the makings of a dominant and high-scoring offense, and I believe that was on full display Sunday. So that's all I have for you. See you next week.
Love you, Casey. Love you.
Buckified, man. It's the Bucs bonus family. Love it. Takeaways real quick. You're going to get, an emphatic phone-in segment from Buckified. He used the word slaughter. Of course, he's
Baker the touchdown maker.
Baker the touchdown maker.
That was good. He needs to trademark that one. That's a good one. Unless he found it somewhere.
And then, yes, we were just echoing the praises of Baker Mayfield and just how comfortable he looked out there. But look, now you go up against, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Eileen, you're going up against a really good football team, a really good defensive front for the Lions, and as Dan noted, in a very loud environment. So that brings us to our preview for this upcoming week. Week 2 for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They take on the Detroit Lions in Motown. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. The key storylines, yes, the Young Bucks have shined in their NFL debut, but how will they do, of course, against the Lions? How will the defense adjust following the injuries? And then, yes, seeking revenge on the Lions after the playoffs. So, guys, your takeaways, what you are going to be really honed in on this week as the Buccaneers take on the Lions in Detroit.
Well, the 0 interceptions for Baker was significant. By the way, he's the FedEx Player of the Week for this week. He's won it 3 times now in his career. 4 touchdown passes, so the leader out of the gates for the NFL in those passing statistics. But can they keep the football unlike they did in that playoff game? I believe they had 3 turnovers in the playoff game, and that put them in a bit of a hole. Tremendous rally in the fourth quarter that fell short, and ironically, it ended on an interception. So not getting yourself in trouble in that environment and not falling behind. They did trade scores with the Lions, I remember, in that first half but not letting this thing snowball and get out of hand. Like the Rams that demonstrated last week on Sunday Night Football. The Rams were down and then roared back and took the lead. In the fourth quarter, the Lions had to send the game to overtime, not the Rams. So it can be done in that building, but, man, it's a good football team. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, just all kinds of talent out there.
Right.
And Eileen, we were just talking about injuries too and how they could be impactful. And I know we're getting in some injury news here as well, right?
Yeah. We are, and I'll say two things for me. One thing for me, key to the game is going to be the Bucs need to figure out what the heck they're doing in the DB room. Obviously, with injuries, which I'm about to let you guys know in just a few seconds. But Baker Mayfield said for them, they're putting a huge emphasis on really just the noise too. Like that's the big thing for them is the noise. I know that kind of sounds generic, but he mentioned that. Was a huge thing. But in terms of injuries, the Bucs posted that KJ Britt limited in practice, William Golston limited in practice, Luke Gadicke limited, Josh Hayes did not practice, Logan Hall limited, Kalijah Kancey did not practice, Zion McCollum limited, saw him in warmups, and Antoine Winfield Jr. did not practice. Obviously, he's in a boot right now. And then Bryce Hall is, I believe, on IR now,
he's
right?
Gone,
He's gone.
Reserve,
so which I really hate that. I was really excited to see that the Bucs added him, but the Lions they've got a handful of guys that didn't practice. It's kind of half and half with them. It's did not practice and then full practice. With us, it's a bit everyone's kind of limited. So hopes are high for the Bucs.
The biggest name for me on the Lions is the Jamison Williams, who had a big touchdown against the Rams last week, and he injured his ankle. So
he was limited today.
We'll see how he goes the rest of the week.
Wednesday.
Some names that stand out to me here. Logan Hall being limited is a good thing. Is actually,
I agree.
He's trending up.
I agree.
With his foot injury that kept him out last week. I did not realize Luke Gadicke was in the concussion protocol. So
I didn't either.
That's a little bit disturbing, actually. We know Zion McCollum's is going, seeing how he goes as the week goes on in the protocol.
Smiles on his face today. He looked like he was feeling himself.
Probably in a good place, but Gadicke is bothersome. Kalijah Kancey not practicing again with a calf, and I had some fans, went back and forth a little bit with a few fans on the X, and I said, if he's this, he should play. And I'm like, listen, you don't mess around with a calf. You don't mess around. There's two things you do not mess with.
Do that voice again.
You should play.
I'm getting sound effects all day long.
Exactly.
Here.
And I said, Mi scusi. I said, there's two things you do not mess with. You don't mess with hamstrings or calves. Those are the two injuries. And I'll give you the names. I'll give you Rays names, Lightning names, hamstrings, all day long why you don't do it. So Kalijah Kancey, hampered by a calf injury all of training camp last year, got back into the lineup for opening day, made a tremendous play right out of the gates against the Vikings. And what did he do? He aggravated his calf. And when did we see him next?
Right.
Week 6.
You got to be careful with that.
So you got to be cautious, especially when there's history. And there is history with Kalijah Kancey. The sad thing is we want to see Kancey next to Vita Vea. We've been talking about it for weeks and what that can do to opponents' running games and how that can help the Tryon Shoyankas and Yaya Diaby on the outside get to the quarterback a little bit more. This game offers that opportunity a little bit more than playing against Jaden Daniels, who the Bucs had to be on high alert for Daniels to just escape the pocket. This is not the same situation.
Right.
If the pass rush can get home, it has a chance to get there and make a difference. But man, not if they can't have Kancey on Sunday. That's significant to me.
Yeah, and obviously this game is a next man up mentality, and I think when you're in the NFL, when you're a second string, you're almost kind of a first string because injuries they happen so often, right? So I'd imagine the Bucs will be okay. Obviously, with Todd Bowles being a defense mastermind, he's a smart man. He knows what he's doing. But I think the biggest question for the Bucs is the DB room in that defensive backfield.
So our injury spotlight here is on Bryce Hall from Casey Sloan on WFLA.com. We'll have injury updates throughout the week. Why is Bryce Hall so important to this defense, to you, Eileen?
Well, first of all, coming from the Jets too, and his experience over there, and they've got a good defense over there. But with him and Jordan Whitehead, I just think he adds. Bryce Hall added so much experience, so much knowledge, and also his personality in the position group too. He's a guy you want to play with. He's a guy who's cool, calm, collected, intelligent, he playmaker, and I just really hate to see him go. I actually covered him at the University of Virginia. It was just hilarious when my first market was in Charlottesville back in 2018 to 2020. He was at UVA. So when I saw him, I was like, Bryce, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you. And then you hate to see stuff like this happen. So, but yeah, it's tough. But they've got they signed Isaac.
Keenan Isaac is
Keenan
back
Isaac.
With the team. Keenan Isaac was one of the roster cuts at the end of the preseason. If you remember him, because he had an interception in the first preseason game against the Bengals. So he was one of the. And they kept a lot of defensive backs when they put this roster together. That was the one thing. It's not that they don't have bodies out there. It's where are the guys going to go. Christian Izien is going to step out of his norm and play safety. So you're looking at really Jordan Whitehead and Christian Izien as your safeties. And Todd Bowles has the ability to get creative with guys and help Izien out a little bit.
Tyreek as well. Thank
goodness that Jordan Whitehead right now is okay, because he has to be the glue back there. Jamel Dean, we haven't mentioned him, but he's doing his thing on one side. You got to get the other corner situation figured out. And anybody can, you can platoon that. Tyke Smith, you just mentioned him. Maybe Zion is back and ready. That would be best case scenario. But Keenan Isaac, certainly capable. Tyreek Funderburk, maybe he's back. He wasn't even on their injury report today, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Okay,
it's not on
so
there.
Tyreek had a foot injury in the latter portion of the preseason, spent time in a boot, and apparently, from what I recall, he was full practice all last week, but Todd Bowles didn't think he was in the football fitness case, so he was inactive Sunday against the Commanders. I think he's ready to go.
I agree. I think you'll see him against the Lions.
I think he'll be good to go. So they're going to have guys to line up. It's just not. It just does, because Antoine Winfield's not going to be there, and that it's easy to panic a little bit. But Todd Bowles said a couple of years ago they threw some guys out there that people hadn't heard of. Pierre Desir was one of them, and I remember Pierre having a really good game. So this is the scheme, and that's the coach, by the way, you want. Who played defensive back himself in the league and is very good as a defensive coach that can get these guys in the position to have success.
So it'll be interesting to see the Buccaneers a little banged up on defense, maybe a lot of bit banged up on defense, taking on what appears to be an electric Lions offense with Goff, the three-headed receiving machine of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, the second-year tight end who has such a bright future. And then, quite the running game with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. There's a lot of talent on that side of the football for the Lions. So,
by the way, did you watch the overtime the other night between the Lions and the Rams?
I actually fell asleep with the baby.
I did because I was getting ready for the BUCS bonus show. But I'll tell you this. So the Lions win the toss. They get the football. And they ran right down the throats of the Rams. Run.
No Aaron Donald anymore in the middle, clogging up the hole, right?
Absolutely. It looked like the Rams were gassed. It looked like, okay, after about three of these chunk runs, they were like, all right, this is inevitable. And the Lions wind up scoring a touchdown on a run to close that game out. That was eye-opening to me, the way it was just toughness on the offensive line by the Lions. So
you can't help but wonder what their game plan will be against the Bucs this week with all the defensive back drama.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, their offensive plan is so centered around the run, but with all the injuries with the Bucs backfield defensively, you can't throw the ball downfield a bit. Don't you think Jared's going to throw that ball?
I don't remember the numbers from the playoff game. I just remember seeing him spread the ball around and then throwing it very well. against the
I
defense.
think you should expect that this weekend.
But I also remember the pass rush getting to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, that's that Yaya and JTS and the guys behind them, they had kind of a quiet day. And again, I think it was because they were playing a different kind of a quarterback. But I would, if you said, who do you want to see step up? Those are the guys I want to see step up this week.
As we look here at the NFC South standings, it's one game, but you were right, Dan. The Saints manhandled the Panthers in a complete rout. And the Falcons, people were ready to hand the division over to the Falcons on a silver platter.
I'm just going to say it. That was so overrated. So overrated when all that was coming out about
Kirk Cousins emerges in the division, and all of a sudden the Falcons are just going to run away with it.
And also,
I didn't see
how
it.
weird is it seeing him in a Falcons jersey? I feel like I've been like a different lifetime. Like, what? This doesn't look or seem right. But I was.
Seeing,
I know
Justin Fields on the other side of the ball.
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
He had such a pedestrian game, Fields, and they could not get into the end zone, and they went into Atlanta and won that game. 6 field goals.
Yeah,
it's
18-10
game, but this is what the NFC South looks like after week 1. It'll be interesting, of course, to see how all of these teams respond. But man, let's just point out the obvious. Buccaneers, Lions is a great matchup. It's great game. I'm psyched for 1 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be a good one. We'll see, of course, how the injuries develop over the course of the week. Casey Sloan, the WFLA.com team, will keep you posted with push alerts on the WFLA app, with injuries as, of course, they happen, injury updates as they happen. And, of course, we'll keep you posted. Any predictions for Sunday before we wrap up this edition of Bucks Bonus? Anything you're looking out for or a prediction?
You want to go first? Wait, should we?
I don't know.
Do you want to say it on this at the same time?
I don't know if the Bucks win this game just because of the fact that the Lions are probably one of the teams to beat right now. And the Bucks, I think, when you say who are the handful of teams to beat in the NFC, I think the Bucks are in that list for sure. Between the Lions and the 49ers right now, it's that's a tough sledding for anybody. That said, even if the Bucks lose this game, it's week 2, and there is plenty ahead for the Bucks to achieve. So I would think that these defensive injuries are going to make their day a little bit tougher.
All right, we'll make things interesting. I'll go with a win.
Okay.
By like a field goal or something.
Right.
I'm just gonna go with the win because I'm positive Penny over here. But like you said, it's a long season. The Broncos, Eagles, and then of course their first NFC South game is against the Falcons, which I cannot wait for that first NFC South game.
If Baker is efficient like he was in the first game, and he's able to find those singles, like all those third downs to Chris Godwin the other day, Bucks are going to score some points again.
So
right. You're looking at I think the Bucks are going to be over 20 on the points pretty much week in and week out.
Yeah.
Now, can you hold the Lions to 21, 24, whatever?
That's the question.
And outscore your problems in week 2.
Maybe that's why I'm excited for this matchup. Maybe I think you just hit it right on the head. It's not a game that's going to be 6-9 in the fourth quarter. There's going to be
scoring.
Yeah, there's going to be points in every Bucks game this year.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great Bucks season. It's going to be a great season of Bucks Bonus with Eileen Natchick, Dan Lucas, and let's put up our boy here on screen. He wasn't on this episode, but Kenny Morales is of course part of the Bucks Bonus team as well. We are here Wednesdays on WFLA.com and then afterwards on all of these platforms. We're also live on Facebook as well. Hello to our Facebook Live audience. We'll be back next week, hopefully with the Buccaneers looking at a 2-0 record. We'll be breaking it all down all week long on WFLA.com. For Eileen and Dan, I'm JB. See you next time on Bucks Bonus. Be well.
Au revoir.